Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 98 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. The first low-level primordial life army, heavily damaged by Luo Feng, fled with all its might, while the other three armies fled while relentlessly massacring. Everywhere they passed, vast areas of cave mansions turned into rubble, and the cultivators perished without the strength to resist. When Senior Yuan and the others created the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, they made the overall power of the low-level primordial life far superior to the cultivators to exert enough pressure on them, forcing the cultivators to only hide within the cities. When the city falls, slaughter is what awaits. Damn it! Luo Feng's eyes were cold as he walked in the gaps between heaven and earth, already nearing the second army. The second army comprised over 800 Divine Emperor perfection level beings and 12,000 late-stage Divine Emperors, making it the strongest of the four armies that invaded the city. Even under the combined assault of Luo Feng's formation and the array of elders, this army sustained relatively minor losses. Disperse! Luo Feng's heart stirred, causing the dark green fog within Yulon City to become illusory and transparent, no longer obscuring vision and allowing the four armies to observe each other from a distance. The formation fog has thinned. We can see the other three armies. At this moment, they realized that, apart from the first army which was fleeing frantically, the flight speed of the other three armies had noticeably slowed down as they continued to massacre the cultivators distractedly. Surrounding the strongest second army, the illusory dark green fog enveloped and shrouded it, with the array of elders besieging it. Suddenly, a massive furry claw, without warning, extended from the void. The layers of protection covering the vast army had limited defense capabilities at specific points. This giant claw instantly pierced through the layers of protective energy at the attack points, sweeping through numerous low-level primordial life forms. These low-level primordial life forms, whether at the late-stage Divine Emperor or Divine Emperor perfection levels, were torn apart and their life cores shattered upon contact with the claw. The shattered bodies were also naturally collected within the space contained in the claw. Repel it! The entire army was in a panic, hurriedly combining their efforts to repel the furry claw. 17 leader-level beings and 213 core clan members were killed. The second army immediately assessed their losses, feeling alarmed. It was known that the curse killings of the Heaven and Earth array could not threaten the leader-level beings and were mainly targeted at the core clan members, taking 1 or 2 lives each time. Although the deaths added pressure on the army, it was not panicking yet. But now? Even the leaders were dying in batches. The leader-level beings were the ruling core of the entire army, and losing so many at once brought panic to everyone. It's Luo Feng's secret treasure claw. We can't determine Luo Feng's exact position. This secret treasure claw possesses terrifying power and mysterious techniques which we cannot capture. Furthermore, it's indestructible, we can only barely repel it. Although the army comprised over 800 low-level primordial life forms at the Divine Emperor perfection level with various means, they were helpless against Luo Feng. After all, in terms of power, the terrifying body driven by the undying heart deploying the palm world already possessed formidable strength. Luo Feng further employed the secret patterns within the palm world to execute his techniques. In terms of technique realm, it surpassed the pure late-stage Divine Emperor life and death Dao, making the claw's methods seem too mysterious and elusive to these low-level primordial life forms relying solely on their bloodline. Boom! The giant claw attacked unannounced from the rear of the army, killing over 200 more members, including more than 10 leader-level beings. Boom! 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 One swipe after another, Luo Feng didn't stop. With the support of the Heavenly Earth formation and the array of elders, this army could not do anything to Luo Feng, helplessly watching as their numbers were continuously massacred with growing casualties. If this continues, the entire army might not escape. The third and fourth armies in the distance saw the scene of Luo Feng repeatedly attacking the second army through the now transparent dark green fog. This sight made them tremble in fear. If Luo Feng wipes out that army, he will surely come for us next. At his killing speed, an army won't last long. Let's flee quickly. We must escape with all our might. We can't be distracted by massacres anymore. We must focus entirely on escaping at full speed. Otherwise, the entire army will be annihilated. The Third and Fourth Armies changed their mindset. Previously, they believed that with the army's combined power, they could still escape while distractedly massacring. Most would survive, especially the leader-level beings. So they were willing to take the risk. But now? If they don't escape, it's a certain death. The Third and Fourth Armies quickly reached a consensus within a breath's time: flee immediately. We've killed many too. Let's escape now. If we die here, what good is bloodline evolution? Although they had massacred for too short a time to regain their freedom, some members who had slain many still hoped for bloodline evolution. But the prerequisite was to survive until the moment of receiving the gift. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two armies stopped their massacre and began to flee with all their might. The surrounding cultivators, who had given in to despair, were astonished to witness this. We survived. These low-level primordial life armies stopped their massacre and fled with all their might. The cultivators realized that whatever made the low-level primordial life forms cease their massacre must be connected to the most powerful presence in Yulon City. The two armies ceased their massacre. Luo Feng observed this from afar, knowing that he made the dark green fog become illusory to scare the remaining two armies into witnessing the second army's miserable state, hoping they would flee quickly. Perhaps more low-level primordial life forms might escape the city. But at the very least, more cultivators would survive. Rumble tilde tilde tilde. Luo Feng continued his frenzied onslaught on the second army, and with the third and fourth armies fleeing, he naturally focused all his power on this second army. The massive claw attacked time and again. Luo Feng, stop. If you do not stop, giving us no vitality, we would rather perish and massacre more cultivators. We will massacre without hesitation. Before our entire army is wiped out, we can at least slaughter tens of millions of cultivators. Voices came from all directions. At the same time, the second army ceased their escape, displaying a posture ready for all-out massacre. Luo Feng frowned at this sight, the massive claw he extended also retracting. To completely annihilate this army will take considerable time. They indeed could massacre over 10 million cultivators during that time. Luo Feng understood that their threat was credible. Seeing the giant claw retract, the low-level primordial life forms of the second army breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, it stopped. They had deterred this Luo Feng Divine Emperor with their mutual destruction stance. We will no longer massacre the cultivators, and you must not attack us. A leader of the second army said. The formation of Yulon City will continue to suppress you, but I can stop the secret treasure attacks, said Luo Feng. All right. We believe you. Their only choice was to believe. Fast. The second army also fled with all their might, at this moment still having over 500 Divine Emperor perfection level beings and over 7,000 late-stage Divine Emperors, already greatly weakened. At this moment, all four armies in Yulon City fled with all their might, daring not to massacre anymore. Luo Feng's avatars stood above Yulon City, keeping their eyes on the four armies. The strength of City Lord Luo Feng can suppress everything in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. The elders felt reassured. The cultivators of the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm were vastly inferior to those of the Dark Sacred Realm. Luo Feng's power, even at the pinnacle level in the Dark Sacred Realm, was naturally invincible here. Over 16 million cultivators died in Yulon City. As City Lord, Luo Feng instantly assessed the casualties. The early infiltration of low-level primordial life forms caused minor injuries and fatalities. The main damage came from the four armies massacred during their escape. Even though Luo Feng fully suppressed them, there were still heavy casualties. With so many cultivators dead, do you still wish to leave alive? Luo Feng's eyes turned icy. At this moment, at the core formation layer of Yulon City, Luo Feng was meticulously engraving the second layer of the formation, nearing completion. After the city was breached and Luo Feng broke through to the late-stage Divine Emperor Life and Death Dao, he began setting up the first layer. As the low-level primordial life armies were about to reach the core area, he finished the first layer. Then, the four armies started their retreat, slowing down due to their massacre and escape, unable to exit Yulon City. Luo Feng soon completed the second layer. Thus, the completion of the second layer naturally combined with the first, forming a unified whole. It's done. With a single thought, Luo Feng caused the original heaven and earth grand formation of Yulon City to gradually become chaotic, the dark green fog transforming into chaos fog, enveloping and suppressing the four armies. Not good. The fleeing four armies felt the significantly increased power of the chaos fog, quickly corroding their layers of protection, with invisible assaults added. The formation's power has increased. It's much stronger. Hold steady. They defended with all their might, but the invisible assaults continuously claimed many members. Almost every breath saw dozens fall. How could the formation become so terrifying? At this moment, they couldn't even muster a mutual destruction stance. Resisting the formation already drained them, any lapse meant instant submersion by the chaos fog. Hold on. These low-level primordial life forms' defense layers constantly showed flaws under the chaos fog's invasion and continuous deaths. Each flaw allowed the fog to penetrate deeper, killing more within the army. Quick, rush out. The first army, having fled first with all their might, neared the city walls. They made desperate efforts, sustaining casualties every moment, finally breaching Yulon City's perimeter. Upon breaching, they were overjoyed. We survived. We survived. This army was ecstatic. At this point, barely over 300 Divine Emperor perfection level beings and over 4,000 late-stage Divine Emperors remained, nearly half surviving. Outside the city, lacking the formation's assistance, Luo Feng dared not face an entire army. We were the first to suffer from Luo Feng's onslaught, yet we survived in the end. The first army's members were dazed, seeing the other three armies still suffering casualties through the illusory chaos fog. But the other three armies still had a considerable distance to the city outskirts. They can't escape. The low-level primordial life forms quickly calculated. Let's go. There was no hesitation. The heavily damaged First Army quickly fled Yulon City. The remaining Second, Third, and Fourth Armies, however, failed to escape. In Yulon City, three low-level primordial life armies were already in despair under the formation's cover. They were dying in batches under the invisible curse killing. After their protective layers were penetrated by the chaos fog, the casualties became even more severe. No. Luo Feng Divine Emperor, spare us. We are just trying to survive. Spare us. These low-level primordial lives, no longer able to threaten, one by one begged for mercy. However, watching this scene, Luo Feng did not show the slightest mercy. Since the era of the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng had experienced numerous wars between races. The enemy's pleas for mercy could not shake him in the slightest. You want me to spare you, but who spared the 16 million cultivators who died? Luo Feng thought to himself. Those over 16 million cultivators were slaughtered with no power to resist. These innate primordial lives, born to break out of the braided cage. Luo Feng sighed secretly, even though they are the weakest low-level primordial lives, forming several armies, they can still slaughter cultivators at will. Cultivators are generally weaker than innate primordial lives. Even in the infinite primordial space, the cultivator camp is weaker than the innate primordial life camp. Seniors like Senior Yuan and Senior Jin stood at the forefront, shielding the entire cultivator camp from the wind and rain. No need to think too much. Even I haven't broken out of the braided cage yet, so what use is thinking so much? Luo Feng laughed at himself, flipping his hand to collect all the corpses of the low-level primordial life army in front of him. He is still too weak now. Any high-level primordial life might be able to seriously pollute him with just one look like the Yuan Xiong Palace Master. Still too weak? After Luo Feng collected the corpses left by the three armies, some of the elders were somewhat envious, but none dared to question. The City Lord's formation has dramatically increased in power, making it impossible for these low-level primordial life armies to escape. The City Lord solo formation setting is several times stronger than what our 300+ elders combined could do. Even 1,000 elders probably couldn't match the City Lord. The elders were all very aware. A city like Yulon City, the core formation layer has a maximum of 1,000 blank layers, including the City Lord, Hall Masters, and the elders. So the limit for elder positions is just over 900. Of course, the resources and benefits of a city cannot attract that many elders. If there were too many elders, the share for each would be too small. In the entire Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, 35 cities, besides the Yuan Xiong Palace Master, only 2 others mastered a half-primordial level path, and they just sent avatars to stay, rarely taking action. Luo Feng collected the many corpses of the 3 low-level primordial life armies and slightly estimated the value, unable to help but marvel. At this level, they indeed look down on the benefits the City Lord position brings. The resources allocated to the City Lord of Yulon City were indeed the most. But does the Yuan Xiong Palace Master care? At his pinnacle, the Yuan Xiong Palace Master often hunted super limit level and Divine Emperor perfection level beings. With the long years of accumulation, his resources were naturally vast, and the wealth far exceeded the Wei Yan Palace Master and Master Gai Dao. Those at the same level as the Yuan Xiong Palace Master, which one is not extremely wealthy. Due to the war in Yulon City, Luo Feng harvested a great deal of spoils of war rapidly and became extremely wealthy, quickly realizing that the share of resources from Yulon City was indeed not very tempting. In the world of cultivators, the ability to obtain resources is vastly different across levels. Luo Feng also understood the mindset of the Yuan Xiong Palace Master more. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The formations in Yulon City all retracted, and the chaos fog between heaven and earth also dissipated. Is the war over? The cultivators in the city were somewhat uneasy. They carefully observed all directions through their cave mansion formations but could no longer see any low-level primordial lives. It seems to be over. There hasn't been any significant commotion in Yulon City either. Emperor Qing, Emperor Ming, and Di Fu were also observing. Suddenly, all cultivators of Yulon City. A voice echoed throughout the city, "I am Luo Feng, the new City Lord of Yulon City. From now on, all cultivators can freely leave the cave mansions. Yulon City is back to normal, and there is no need to worry about those low-level primordial lives anymore." A few simple sentences echoed in every corner of Yulon City, stirring excitement among the cultivators in the city. We won. The war was won. Luo Feng? The City Lord of Yulon City? Our Yulon City always had no City Lord before. Now there's a City Lord. The cultivators in the city were excited and celebrating, though also quite curious. As the city builder, the Yuan Xiong Palace Master never took on the title of City Lord due to severe soul pollution, having long discreetly spread word of wanting to choose a City Lord for Yulon City. This was also the reason for Wei Yan Palace Master's ambitiousness. No matter who becomes the City Lord, as long as they can protect Yulon City, they are a good City Lord. Many cultivators came out of their cave mansions. The sky over Yulon City still had colorful formations providing protection, with light rain falling as if washing away the city's original fear, ferocity, and madness, restoring everything to peace. We are still alive. The city was broken, but we still won and survived. Many cultivators felt a sense of emotion. They all understood that with the city broken, such low casualties were incredibly rare. This new City Lord must be quite extraordinary. We don't know yet what strength this City Lord Luo Feng possesses. Many cultivators were curious, not knowing the detailed situation of the war or Luo Feng's strength. But in a critical moment, taking over as City Lord and protecting the vast majority of cultivators in Yulon City made the cultivators very grateful and supportive of this City Lord. Life in Yulon City began to return to normal, with the Elder Hall overseeing the repairs in areas damaged by the war. This war was stirred up by those super limit levels. Luo Feng's strongest avatar had already quietly left the city. Earlier, when the 4 super limit levels fled, Luo Feng had arranged for his avatar to follow them from afar. Now it was time to harvest them one by one. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the Elder Hall of Yulon City, Luo Feng sat in the main seat, with the Yuan Xiong Palace Master sitting beside him. The surrounding elders were all quite excited, very satisfied with the outcome of this battle. City Lord. Suddenly, the Insect Nest Master, in the form of a woman, stepped forward from the crowd of elders. Insect Nest Master. Luo Feng looked at her, knowing her information and disliking her. This kind of destroyer demon type was, in Luo Feng's judgment, one of those to-be-killed categories. Unfortunately, the opponent was a powerhouse from the source world, so Luo Feng couldn't completely kill her. City Lord. The Insect Nest Master smiled slightly. Earlier, I offended the City Lord. I also know that I, this kind of cultivator, am not liked by the City Lord. I am aware of my situation. This war is over, and while defending the city, I gave my all without any slack. Now that the work is done, I am willing to offer all my resources in Yulon City to the City Lord. As for myself, I will forever leave the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. The Insect Nest Master smiled slightly, and after saying this, her body naturally dissipated. Her avatars in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm all self-destructed, taking no treasures or resources. Luo Feng was slightly surprised to see this scene. The Insect Nest Master had devoured countless souls, her cultivation path evil and terrifying, and Luo Feng indeed disliked her. But at this moment, the Insect Nest Master had first obediently defended the city, then relinquished all, and finally left the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm completely, surprising Luo Feng with her decisiveness. To become such a terrifying demon, she is indeed remarkable. Luo Feng thought. City Lord, I too am willing to offer all my resources in Yulon City to the City Lord and, in the future, will forever leave the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. The Master of the Shadow Tower also stood up and bowed slightly. It is a fortune for me, Wan Ying, to know the City Lord. I too will forever leave the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. The Master of Deceit Workshop also stood up and bowed slightly. I believe the City Lord does not wish for raiding forces to continue existing in Yulon City. The Master of the Shadow Tower and the Master of Deceit Workshop both self-destructed their avatars, choosing to leave the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm forever. At their level, a simple observation could confirm Luo Feng's way of doing things. Previously serving as the Heaven Patrol Palace Commander, Luo Feng did not wish to oppress any cultivators and even fully protected as many cultivators as possible while defending the city. Such a City Lord could not tolerate these raiding forces. The other two are fine, but the Master of Deceit Workshop is quite promising. The Yuan Xiong Palace Master watched the scene and said, a little restraint and Deceit Workshop's actions will be much more measured. His character was different from Luo Feng's. He could tolerate those demons and raiders. Cultivators come from different worlds and have different growth environments. Yuan Xiong Palace Master said, some worlds force cultivators to become demons. Tolerate different types of cultivators a little. After all, such cultivators are plentiful. The Yuan Xiong Palace Master looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng smiled, plentiful? I cannot manage so many. But in Yulon City, there's no need for raiding and stealing forces. His capabilities were limited. But he naturally had to manage within his purview. What should be killed, and what should be driven away should be driven away. The original world's environment forced them into becoming demons. But the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm did not force them. Since Luo Feng decided to be this City Lord, he would not tolerate these forces in his city. Luo Feng's words made the surrounding elders exchange glances. They all understood that Luo Feng's influence would far exceed the previous three Hall Masters. Because he alone could destroy all resistance forces in the city. So when Luo Feng said it, it meant that Yulon City would no longer have any soil for the survival of raiding and stealing forces. This City Lord Luo's character is much stronger than the previous three Hall Masters. The previous three Hall Masters always needed to consider the elders. But this City Lord Luo, despite seeming to have a good temper, when he decides something, no elder can oppose it. The elders, from just a few words by Luo Feng, felt that unstoppable will. Your ambition is much stronger than mine. The Yuan Xiong Palace Master looked and praised, however, individual strength is ultimately limited. Even if one breaks out of the braided cage, it's difficult to change much. Luo Feng smiled, saying nothing more. Individual strength is ultimately limited? That's just because the cultivation isn't strong enough. Oh, right. The Yuan Xiong Palace Master suddenly recalled, I sought aid from the Dark Sacred Realm, and they sent a cultivation team. The team is still on its way, I need to contact them first. Only a few breaths of time. This cultivation team has arrived in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. The Yuan Xiong Palace Master looked up at Luo Feng in surprise, and they are heading toward Yulon City. They will probably arrive in less than half a day. The emergence of a super-limit level enchanting heartworm poses too great of a threat, said Yuan Xiong Palace Master. The key reason for the fall of Yulon City this time is precisely that super-limit level worm. Luo Feng agreed. The possibility of the city being breached from the outside was very slim. Infiltrating from the inside? That would require a super-limit level entity capable of stealth. The deaths and escape of Wei Yan Palace Master and Gai Dao Palace Master were consequences of that super-limit level enchanting heartworm. So this cultivator team will still head to Yulon City. Using the causality between us and the enchanting heartworm, they will ascertain its whereabouts, said Yuan Xiong Palace Master. It must be eliminated as soon as possible. Luo Feng smiled faintly, my avatar is already pursuing that enchanting heartworm. It's likely almost done. Yuan Xiong Palace Master was briefly stunned and then smiled. Given Luo Feng's ability to suppress a 4-on-1 fight, chasing down a super-limit level enchanting heartworm would indeed not be difficult. Even if you killed that super-limit level enchanting heartworm, I guess this cultivator team will still make a trip to Yulon City, said Yuan Xiong Palace Master. Oh. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised. They are probably much more interested in you than in the enchanting heartworm, said Yuan Xiong Palace Master with a slight smile, fully understanding the thoughts of beings at their level. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The world was vast. The super-limit level enchanting heartworm became illusory and was fleeing at high speed. It's over. Though the world was vast, there was desperation in the heart of this super-limit level enchanting heartworm. The subworms I dispersed have all been killed by Luo Feng's avatar. He is tracking me from behind, and I can't shake him off. It had no choice. When it came to escape speed, its spiritual body, though fast, could not match Luo Feng, who could teleport short distances through space. Its subworm's strength was instantly wiped out in the face of Luo Feng's avatar. Only the mother worm could withstand Luo Feng's pursuit. As soon as he brings the avatar with the secret treasure, I'm doomed. At this moment, it felt utterly powerless. Despite sensing the enemy following closely behind, it had no way out. The surrounding low-level primordial life army, the few that survived, couldn't stop Luo Feng either. I knew there was only one chance to launch a surprise attack. Once it failed, it was over. Not good. Its heart trembled. It sensed the Luo Feng behind it accelerating, quickly closing the distance between them. It stopped fleeing since the speed gap was too significant, and it couldn't escape. Swoosh! From a distance, it saw a figure in black with black hair emerge from the rift in the heavens, approaching quickly. Super-limit level enchanting heartworm. Luo Feng looked at it. Luo Feng, is this your strongest avatar? The enchanting heartworm speculated. Luo Feng nodded. Can you spare my life? The enchanting heartworm looked at Luo Feng. I was captured and brought to the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm by terrifying beings among you cultivators. Everything I did was because of their coercion. Luo Feng looked at it, expressionless, and extended his finger. Luo Feng's finger caused the heavens to split apart. It pierced through the space, appearing instantly in front of the enchanting heartworm. Luo Feng's index finger turned into a furry claw, instantly penetrating the worm's body, and struck its life core. Buzz! As Luo Feng struck, an invisible attack hit his soul, confusing his senses. No hesitation at all? Even in its moment of death, the enchanting heartworm was unwilling. Its plea was meant to waver Luo Feng's resolve, combined with a secret technique to affect Luo Feng's perception. If Luo Feng had wavered under the influence of the secret technique, he might have genuinely thought, this enchanting heartworm is innocent and pitiful, there's no need to kill it. The innate secret technique, enchanting heart, could affect one's thoughts to some extent. But Luo Feng didn't waver in the slightest, giving it no chance. Phew. After killing the enchanting heartworm, Luo Feng waved and stored away its corpse. Compassion? Luo Feng's eyes were cold. Luo Feng knew very well when to show compassion. Being compassionate to every target during life-and-death battles was incredibly foolish. Cultivators and innate primordial life were two opposing factions, both seeking the total annihilation of the other. Some of the terrifying beings among innate primordial life even wanted to devour the source world. So the two factions were absolutely opposed to each other. Absolute opposites, two factions that sought to obliterate each other. If there was compassion here, one wouldn't have reached Luo Feng's current level through cultivation. Many cultivators have died at the hands of the enchanting heartworm. After storing the worm's corpse, Luo Feng discovered the many spoils of war it carried, likely from Wei Yang Palace Master and some elders. With the enchanting heartworm dealt with, the other three will be easier. Luo Feng turned to look in three other directions. He had also sent avatars to track the three remaining super limit levels. The vast endless blood sea enveloped the expansive land, as well as the black, serpentine mountain-like creature within. Luo Feng, I pose no threat to you anymore, why not spare me a shred of vitality? The black serpentine mountain creature roared, struggling, but its resistance weakened under the suppression of the blood sea formation. Actions have consequences. After many attempts, the giant claw within the blood sea finally found and shattered its life core within the enormous body. This colossal mountain-like being had the strongest physical body among the four super limit levels. Die? Amidst the blood sea, a massive lightning burst forth, its force shaking the heavens and even breaking through the blood sea, exploding completely. The blood sea condensed into Luo Feng's figure. Dead? Luo Feng was puzzled. The biomimetic destruction eye on his forehead opened, carefully observing all traces of causality. The causality between himself and this thunderbolt tentacle creature became extremely weak, but it still existed. A trace of causality remains. It hasn't completely perished. Its current position, I faintly feel, is very far away. It fluctuates and is impossible to pinpoint precisely. Luo Feng was astonished. The distance seemed as far as the edge of the sky. And there were multiple layers of concealment, making the remaining thread of the causality line blurry and unattainable. This thunderbolt tentacle creature likely had a fallback plan before the war, Luo Feng thought. Now, activating that plan, this kind of life-saving measure, I wonder which race it belongs to. From Divine Emperor Perfection level to Super Limit level. Some low-level primordial life forms change during breakthrough and gain talent abilities that the leader level lacks, making it hard for cultivators to identify their original race. Forget it. Luo Feng gave up. The Nine Rivers Sacred Realm has several super limit levels. Since it's impossible to track, Luo Feng didn't dwell on it. Leave it to future cultivators to handle. Luo Feng continued his pursuit of the final bird of destruction. The bird of destruction could transform into an endless aura of destruction. But all its aura was suppressed into the blood sea eye within the endless blood sea. The blood sea eye, residing within Luo Feng's secret treasure, undying heart, trapped the bird of destruction within, rendering it inescapable. Something is odd. Luo Feng looked into the undying heart, observing the boundless aura of destruction within the blood sea eye. A super limit level being has completely turned into a massive aura. Its body was the hardest to annihilate, enduring dozens of my claws and still remaining strong. Luo Feng could wipe out the bird of destruction with hundreds of claws, but he wasn't in a hurry. Its talent in the destruction path is interesting. Luo Feng, in human form, temporarily suppressed the bird of destruction within the undying heart's blood sea eye. I'll study its destruction path first. After that, I'll destroy it. Luo Feng thought. He had already reached the late stage of Divine Emperor life and death Tao. Naturally, he would begin attempting to reach the half-primordial level in life and destruction paths. This bird of destruction was valuable for comprehension. Swoosh! Luofeng began his journey back. The battle at Yulon City involved 5 super-limit levels, 1 killed inside the city, 3 outside the city. The thunderbolt tentacle creature might still be alive. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A large, ancient ship flew through the vastness of the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, moving at great speed. Inside the ship, 3 figures sat together, chatting leisurely. Latest news. A winged woman with pristine white wings sat there, smiling. Yuan Xiong said the new city lord of Yulon City, Luofeng, has killed that super-limit level enchanting heartworm. Looks like our mission is complete, an elder flipping through a book before him said with a smile. Even though we didn't act, since we took the mission and the super-limit level enchanting heartworm died within 3 days, we still get half the battle merit. Regardless of the reason, if the target died within 3 days, their team would receive at least some merit. If the target died after 3 days and wasn't their doing, they would get no merit. This Luofeng is quite formidable, making a critical breakthrough, saving the city from its downfall, remarked a young man in a red robe. I heard he was able to hold his own against 4 super-limit levels. His strength surpasses mine. I couldn't do that. Battling for super-limit levels, I could at most maintain a balance, the elder said. Very impressive, the winged woman exclaimed in admiration. He just broke through and is already this strong. He hasn't even been to the Dark Sacred Realm yet. Without training in the Dark Sacred Realm and without reaping the benefits of its unique resources, he's already this powerful, the elder said in awe. If he goes to the Dark Sacred Realm, he might reach the invincible level. Every invincible level being gets taken in by Senior Yuan and the others, the young man in the red robe said enviously. It said that after being guided at the invincible level, they often break free from the braided cage. That's another realm of existence. The elder also showed envy. They were beings who had mastered 2 half-primordial level paths, their cultivation extremely advanced, yet they couldn't claim invincibility and didn't qualify for guidance from Senior Yuan and the others. Are you returning? The winged woman smiled. I plan to go to Yulon City to meet this Luofeng. If he becomes invincible, there might not be an opportunity to meet him. Not having visited the Dark Sacred Realm yet being this strong, is worth meeting. Both the elder and the young man in a red robe nodded. They were willing to befriend someone who might break free from the braided cage. This ancient ship flew for half a day and finally saw Yulon City from afar. What a city of cultivation! The elder looked at Yulon City. In his observation, the colorful formations of Yulon City were almost all transparent to him, except for the inconspicuous Chaos one-color array which made him feel a sense of oppression. No wonder Brother Luofeng can turn the tide. Just looking at this formation, one can see his uniqueness. The winged woman and the red-robed youth also noticed the Chaos one-color array and felt threatened. Let's go in and take a look, the elder said. The 3 of them retrieved their ship and entered through the city gate. The guards at the gate did not notice them at all, not even the formations of Yulon City detected them. Having just gone through a war, Yulon City has returned to normal so quickly. This also shows that Yulon City's losses were not significant. The 3 of them flew through the city, observing with interest. Suddenly, 2 figures emerged from the blurred gap between heaven and earth, appearing in front. One was the Yuan Xiong Palace Master, and the other was naturally Luofeng. Brother Bo Xiu, you arrived without a word, so we could have greeted you. Yuan Xiong Palace Master smiled and said. Yuan Xiong. The elder also smiled brightly, happy to see an old friend. His gaze also fell on the black-clothed, black-haired man beside Yuan Xiong Palace Master. Luofeng's aura now was even more profound and unfathomable, with every thread of aura containing the realm of the life and death Tao. Cultivation is like this: the deeper one's attainment, the more one's presence contains the charm of the path practiced. Even one's own image contains the mysteries of the Tao. Brother Luofeng. Yuan Xiong Palace Master smiled and said, let me introduce, this is Brother Bo Xiu, cultivator of the true witch lineage. In terms of strength, he surpasses even my pinnacle and can be considered half my teacher. Yuan Xiong, we learned from each other, the elder said with a smile. When they teamed up for training, they naturally exchanged insights to improve their own cultivation systems. This is the Divine Emperor Bai Yin. Yuan Xiong Palace Master introduced again. The winged woman nodded at Luo Feng with a smile. If in the dark sacred realm, this scene would be enough to astonish many cultivators. Bai Yin Divine Emperor was notoriously cold and proud, with few cultivators in the dark sacred realm capable of making her smile. Apart from a few close friends, she generally ignored those of the same level. This is the Kaizhen Divine Emperor. Yuan Xiong Palace Master smiled and said, in terms of close combat, Kaizhen can kill a super limit level low-level primordial life with barehanded strength. The red-robed youth smiled and said, I can't single-handedly defeat for super limit levels. All three of them respected Luo Feng greatly. Pleased to meet the three of you. Luo Feng was also polite, since you have come from afar, shall we first go to the Elder Hall? Please. The Elder and the other two were more than happy. Soon, under the guidance of Luo Feng and Yuan Xiong Palace Master, these three cultivators arrived at the Elder Hall. As the core of the entire Yulon city, welcoming guests here was considered the greatest respect. I heard that Brother Luo Feng already killed that enchanting heart worm. The elder said after sitting down, after all, since we took on the mission, we hope to first confirm the corpse of that enchanting heart worm. Luo Feng nodded, with a flip of his hand, the corpse of the enchanting heart worm floated aside. The elder, the winged woman, and the red-robed youth carefully observed. They quickly saw through the ins and outs of the corpse, saw the cracked life core, and confirmed the mission's completion simultaneously. Brother Luo Feng, put away the corpse. The elder smiled and said, we easily earned half of the battle merit this time. With the cunning of the enchanting heartworm, by the time we arrived, its progeny would have scattered across many dangerous places in the Nine Rivers sacred realm. Tracking them down wouldn't be easy. The red-robed youth also said. Luo Feng was swift in his kill, dragging it out would have been troublesome. Brother Luo Feng obtained numerous low-level primordial life corpses this time. The elder said, in the Nine Rivers sacred realm, no one could purchase so many low-level primordial life corpses. In Yulon City, forces capable of purchasing even one super-limit level corpse are rare. Yuan Xiong Palace Master nodded in agreement. A super-limit level corpse has many uses, and even a bit of flesh is very expensive. The whole corpse is valued at approximately 10 billion primordial crystals. Forces able to purchase it are extremely rare. But in the dark sacred realm, even if Brother Luo Feng's spoils of war increase tenfold, there are many forces capable of purchasing them. The red-robed youth laughed. Moreover, in the dark sacred realm, you can buy resources most suitable for yourself. Luo Feng acknowledged. This time, his spoils of war were indeed enormous, considered a vast fortune. In the Nine Rivers sacred realm, the resources he could buy were indeed very limited. Precious secret treasures suitable for himself so far were just the undying heart and palm world. He couldn't purchase anything else. I heard there's a large primordial hall in the dark sacred realm. Luo Feng inquired. Indeed. The winged woman, Bai Yin, also replied, the large primordial hall in the dark sacred realm is even bigger than Yulon City. Inside the hall, wonders abound. There are vast amounts of high-level primordial life corpses, including 7 whole world-level primordial life corpses. Many living high-level primordial lives are also imprisoned in the primordial hall. We can observe those imprisoned high-level primordial lives up close. Moreover, if you have enough battle merit, you can exchange for a primordial prisoner, a high-level primordial life whose powers have been completely sealed, the winged woman explained. Their powers must be completely sealed, otherwise, they could easily endanger cultivators, the elder said. I've always wanted to exchange for a primordial prisoner for research, but unfortunately, it's too expensive. The winged woman said, various complete bloodlines in the primordial hall are countless, and even super-limit level bloodlines are insignificant in the primordial hall. Anyone with ambition usually exchanges for high-level primordial life bloodlines, and there are even those who exchange for world-level primordial bloodlines. In the Dark Sacred Realm, we know of two who have successfully exchanged for world-level primordial bloodlines. Countless bloodlines, various secret treasures, diverse inheritances, numerous cultivation opportunities, everything can be exchanged. In the Primordial Hall, battle merit can exchange for everything. Primordial crystals can only purchase a select few items. Luo Feng listened, filled with longing. His path of cultivation involves the study of various bloodlines. Only in the Dark Sacred Realm could he collect sufficient superlimit level bloodlines, and perhaps even higher level bloodlines. Brother Luo Feng, with your strength, you can now venture to the Dark Sacred Realm, the elder suggested. This Nine Rivers Sacred Realm poses no threat to you anymore. But in the Dark Sacred Realm, it's much more perilous, and resources are far more abundant. With your current strength, once you go to the Dark Sacred Realm, you may advance even further, reaching the invincible level. Invincible? Luo Feng asked. I've heard that in the Dark Sacred Realm, beings of the invincible level are almost unseen. They have been taken away. The red-robed youth said enviously. Once you reach the invincible level, Senior Yuan and others will appear and take them away. Anyone taken away has likely managed to break free from the braided cage, the winged woman added longingly. Breaking free from the braided cage. Luo Feng listened in breathless anticipation. Of course, he aspired to that. Without breaking through the shackles and escaping the braided cage, one must live trapped within the source world, myriad worlds, and other such realms. Only by breaking free from the braided cage, undergoing a transformation in the essence of life, could one truly roam the vast infinite primordial space. What exactly is this invincible level? Luo Feng asked. The elder and his three companions, along with Yuan Xiong Palace Master, hesitated before answering the question. Mastering 2.5 primordial paths is considered the pinnacle level in the Dark Sacred Realm, the elder began. If one's strength can surpass the peak level by a large margin, then they can be deemed invincible. Achieving invincibility is exceedingly challenging, remarked the winged woman. Even those of exceptionally high talent mastering 3.5 primordial paths often find it hard to achieve a qualitative change in power, which falls short of invincible. There are also those who've exchanged world-level primordial bloodlines, exploring deeper bloodline powers. Yet, claiming to reach the invincible level remains uncertain. Then, Yuan Xiong Palace Master added, Luo Feng, in the Dark Sacred Realm, the two enlightened ones who have exchanged world-level primordial bloodlines are Divine Emperor Ji Ku, whose power only slightly surpasses ours, and a senior named Mojio, who further explored deeper bloodline powers and was taken away by Senior Yuan and others. It is said that he has now broken free from the braided cage. There are three recognized paths to achieving the invincible level. The elder elaborated, the first is having one spiritual will break free from the braided cage. With sheer terrifying willpower, they can sweep through all challenges. Before them, we would be utterly powerless. The second involves progressing further with bloodline power. The third is fusing the two kinds of half-primordial level paths that we dual practice. This too can lead to a qualitative change. These three paths become increasingly difficult as you go, the red-robed youth explained. He continued, throughout the history of the Dark Sacred Realm, those who achieved invincibility usually did so through the liberation of their spiritual will from the braided cage. We know of only one who relied on bloodline power. As for the third, we haven't heard of it happening in the Dark Sacred Realm. In other world clusters, there should be instances, the winged woman commented. It's a method clearly recorded in the Primordial Hall and is considered the hardest yet highest potential path for the enlightened. The elder nodded, the deeper the foundational understanding of the Great Tao, the higher the potential. This third path is a journey of solid grounding. Thank you all for your insights. Luo Feng gained considerable knowledge. These four before him, all pinnacles within the Dark Sacred Realm, were vastly knowledgeable, providing Luo Feng with deeper insights into the path ahead. His life and death Tao had already reached the late stage of the Divine Emperor, showcasing skills superior to those who mastered 2.5 primordial paths, yet still within the same major category of strength. If the life and death Tao reached the half-primordial level, that would constitute a qualitative change, considered invincible. Brother Luofeng, we've completed our task and will remain in Yulon City for a few days before returning, the elder offered. Would you like to return with us? We can also introduce you to some fellow travelers. No need. Luofeng shook his head. I just recently broke through and need to enter closed-door cultivation for some time before heading to the dark sacred realm. The 100 Tribulations' heart essence had been consumed for less than a day. Once its effects wore off and his strength was fully consolidated, it would be time to explore the dark sacred realm. The Cultivator team stayed in Yulon City for 2 days and also discussed the Tao with Luofeng and the Yuan Xiong Palace Master. At their level, making even a slight improvement is very difficult. Therefore, they often engage in discussions with others of the same level to enhance their friendship. Outside the city, Luofeng and the Yuan Xiong Palace Master saw off this Cultivator team. These 2 days of gathering, we have thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. Bai Yin Divine Emperor, the winged woman, who became talkative after getting acquainted, smiled and said, we will return to the dark sacred realm first. Brother Luofeng, we look forward to seeing you again in the dark sacred realm. When you reach Chengfeng City, be sure to contact us. Luofeng said with a smile. There are a total of 5 cities in the dark sacred realm, and Bai Yin Divine Emperor's Cultivator team resides long-term in Chengfeng City. We're leaving. The elder and the red-robed young man also nodded slightly to Luofeng and the Yuan Xiong Palace Master. All 3 of them boarded the ship, and under the watchful eyes of Luofeng and the Yuan Xiong Palace Master, this ancient ship quickly disappeared beyond the horizon. The 3 of them have left. Yuan Xiong Palace Master looked into the distance with a slight smile. Luofeng, I should also take my leave. Luofeng was startled. It was agreed that I would leave after the Battle of Yulon City. But I stayed 2 more days with 3 old friends. Yuan Xiong Palace Master looked at Luofeng. I'm very relieved to leave Yulon City in your hands. As for me, I will disperse all my avatars in the outside world. I will focus all my efforts in my hometown to fight against the pollution. Either suppress the pollution or completely succumb to it, said the Yuan Xiong Palace Master. At this moment, Luofeng's emotions were complex. Yuan Xiong Palace Master, having reached this point, is already in great danger. Once fallen, his soul will be annihilated. The billions of worlds were created by Senior Yuan and other beings of the same level. While the strong ones born from these billions of worlds don't have the clone technique, if they can persuade the world creators to intervene, they still have hope for resurrection. This information has long spread among the cultivators in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Many cultivators in these billions of worlds have regrets and wish to resurrect their dearest loves. Senior Yuan, Senior Jin, and some others had promised long ago that if one escapes the braided cage, they could have a chance for resurrection. But the Source World is different. The Source World is protected by supreme rules and possesses the clone technique. Yet, likewise, the supreme rules also block outside force. Once a strong person inside the Source World dies, even Senior Yuan cannot resurrect them. Yuan Xiong Palace Master is a strong person who walked out of the Source World. If he dies, then he is truly dead. Even Senior Yuan and others are helpless. Even if I die, there's no need to be sad. Yuan Xiong Palace Master laughed heartily. The path of cultivation is filled with countless obstacles and dangers. Having reached this point, I am among the pinnacle level existences in the dark world. If I die, there's nothing to regret. Brother Yuan Xiong, Luofeng solemnly advised, on your cultivation path, you have defeated many great enemies. You will surely be able to defeat the high-level primordial pollution as well. Yuan Xiong Palace Master nodded. I will defeat it. Well then, let's part ways here. With that, the figure of Yuan Xiong Palace Master dissipated. Luofeng silently watched this scene. He knew. Unless Yuan Xiong Palace Master thoroughly suppresses the pollution, it might be challenging to meet again. Asterisk. As time passed, the avatars of the elders who died in the Battle of Yulon City returned one by one to Yulon City. Elder Hall. 7 elders were summoned to meet Luofeng. City Lord. The 7 elders were quite respectful, feeling a bit nervous and expectant because, among all the elders in the city, only these 7 were summoned, leading them to guess the possibility. In the Battle of Yulon City, all 7 of you were attacked by the superlimit level enchanting heart worms. Luo Feng smiled and waved his hand, and 7 secret treasures appeared in midair. These 7 secret treasures are yours, right? Take them. In the city, there were not many elders carrying powerful secret treasures. The elders who lost their treasures in this war were precisely these 7. Thank you, City Lord. The 7 elders were overjoyed and excited. They guessed the possibility but didn't expect the City Lord to return them without any conditions. It is known. According to the general rules of cultivators, the spoils gained from normal fighting and killing generally belong to oneself. You were also fighting for Yulon City. Luo Feng smiled slightly. These 7, carrying important secret treasures, were all trying to root their forces well in Yulon City. These 7 elders felt increasingly that having such a city lord would make life much easier in the future. Back when Wei Yang Palace Master's influence covered the entire city, he would take a hefty chunk of many benefits. If such precious secret treasures fell into Wei Yang Palace Master's hands, he would never return them. City Lord, recently, Wei Yang Palace Master has been secretly transferring some resources away from the city. He dared not come himself and asked other elders to help carry the resources away, several elders said. I know, Luo Feng said. With his control over Yulon City, those actions of Wei Yan Palace Master could not escape his notice. He is transferring resources, probably to leave voluntarily, Luo Feng said, no need to pay much mind. Yes. The 7 elders respectfully responded. Only 5 days later. The avatar of Wei Yang Palace Master unexpectedly arrived in Yulon City, personally visiting Luo Feng. Wei Yang Palace Master, the City Lord has agreed to see you. Please. In front of the Elder Hall, a guard led the way. Wei Yang Palace Master could only follow. Walking through this familiar Elder Hall, he once thought he would completely dominate the Elder Hall and become the master of the entire Yulon City. Who knew Luo Feng would rise so swiftly and terrifyingly powerful? With his own strength, suppressing for superlimit levels? Using the formation, only 1/10 of the massive low-level primordial life army entering the city managed to narrowly escape? Even if I carry the secret treasure, I'm afraid I won't withstand a single move from him, the Wei Yang Palace Master sighed inwardly. The power he displayed is more terrifying than the Yuan Xiong Palace Master at his pinnacle. Soon, under the guidance, the Wei Yang Palace Master saw Luo Feng sitting in the garden from a distance. Wei Yang, I've met the City Lord, the Wei Yang Palace Master slightly bowed in salute. Luo Feng looked at the Wei Yang Palace Master with interest. You actually came to see me? Luo Feng looked at him, are you still planning to stay in Yulon City? With the City Lord here, Yulon City is incredibly stable, naturally, it doesn't need me. The Wei Yang Palace Master respectfully replied, I have decided to completely withdraw from Yulon City. I came this time with a request. Oh? What is it? Luo Feng looked at him. When I was garrisoning Yulon City before, my avatar died at the hands of that super-limit level enchanting heartworm, and I lost 2 important secret treasures, the Wei Yang Palace Master pleaded. I humbly asked the City Lord to return them. Whatever price I need to pay, the City Lord can just say. Luo Feng looked at him and couldn't help but laugh. You actually have the face to ask me to return your secret treasures. Luo Feng couldn't help shaking his head. Back then, he forced me to resign from the position of commander of the Heavenly Patrol Palace. I didn't agree, and the Wei Yang Palace Master even acted impulsively. With such a conflict present, the Wei Yang Palace Master still dared to show up, dared to ask me. Luo Feng was very surprised. I know I have offended the City Lord, the Wei Yang Palace Master said, but you know how important powerful secret treasures suitable for oneself are. Whatever price is required, the City Lord can just say. Luo Feng looked at him and said, I'll give you 2 choices. The Wei Yang Palace Master was overjoyed in his heart. Luo Feng's temper was actually this good. Previously hearing that the 7 elders all got their lost important secret treasures back, he began to have hope. What are the 2 choices? The Wei Yang Palace Master asked eagerly. As long as he could regain the 2 lost secret treasures, he was willing to pay a little more. First, you obliterate your own avatar. Second, I will do it for you. Luo Feng looked at him. You choose. The Wei Yan Palace Master's face changed. He sensed the coldness in Luo Feng's eyes at this moment. I am willing to obliterate myself. The Wei Yan Palace Master still respectfully saluted, and then without a sound, his avatar was obliterated and dissipated. Luo Feng coldly watched this scene. His compassion was also selective. The Wei Yan Palace Master clearly did not deserve it. The positions of Wei Yan Palace Master and Master Gai Dao in the core formation layer of Yulon City had long been erased by Luo Feng, depriving them of their positions as Palace Masters. Time passed. The elders of Yulon City gradually became familiar with Luo Feng's temper. Luo Feng, besides the portion entitled as the City Lord, wasn't interested in competing for other resources within the city, which also made more strong individuals willing to take root in Yulon City. At both the Elder level and Palace Master level, there were relocations coming one after another. Many ordinary cultivators were also moving here. No way, a city that can be termed as absolutely safe, with a city lord who disdains to fight for resources yet protects the middle and lower levels of the weak. This kind of city naturally had great appeal within the 35 cities of Yulon City. The number of cultivators in Yulon City is increasing. Emperor Qing, Emperor Ming, and Di Fu gazed down at the entire city from the high point of the Elder Hall. As Luo Feng's confidants, they were responsible for some of the city lord's trivial matters. Encountering such a benevolent city lord is also the fortune of many cultivators, Emperor Ming said. In this world of cultivators, most still follow the law of the jungle. Di Fu nodded. Survival of the fittest is the norm. The city lord has changed the order of Yulon City with his individual might. Originally, without the insect nest, deceit workshop, and shadow tower, other forces would also steal and loot. But Luo Feng's strength was too strong. With the formation, he could encompass the entire city with a single thought, capable of destroying any force. So when he casts law with words, saying no thieving or looting forces may exist, no such forces would appear in the city. The city lord is appearing less and less. Emperor Qing turned to look at the cave mansion next to the Elder Hall, which was Luo Feng's current cave mansion. Just like the ancestors of the two countries rarely appear on the land of origin, Di Fu mused, the city lord doesn't appear much in Yulon City either. Perhaps, his main focus is already in other worlds. Emperor Qing and Emperor Ming were shocked. Luo Feng had indeed likely gone to the dark sacred realm. In fact, Luo Feng had been in closed-door cultivation for the better part of an epoch, only coming out when the effects of the 100 Tribulations heart essence had completely dissipated. Cultivating for half an epoch under the effects of the 100 Tribulations heart essence had greatly aided Luo Feng. After coming out of closed-door cultivation, Luo Feng first erased the original formations on the core formation layer of Yulon City and then engraved a far more powerful formation after careful consideration. After leaving an ordinary avatar in Yulon City, he quietly departed. An ordinary avatar, commanding a terrifying formation within the city, would exert even more deterrent power than during the Battle of Yulon City. Luo Feng was walking alone on the land of the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. He also walked along the Nine Rivers once, took a good look at it, and during the journey encountered low-level primordial lives that had no sense attacking him. These low-level primordial lives then became corpses stored in Luo Feng's collection of treasures. After walking through the Nine Rivers, Luo Feng arrived at the center of the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, Holy Mountain. Time to go to the Dark Sacred Realm. This time, Luo Feng did not go to the teleportation Dark Lake at the foot of the mountain but instead walked up the mountain path towards the summit. The invisible pressure of the mountain path grew increasingly terrifying, but for Luo Feng, who had completely perfected the undying blood sea body, it was as comfortable as a gentle breeze, and he reached the summit. At the summit, there was also a dark pool. Luo Feng's thread of thought penetrated the dark pool, immediately sensing that this teleportation pool led to another distant world. Let's take a look. Luo Feng stepped into the dark pool and vanished, the light swirling as he was already being teleported. A drop of water enveloped Luo Feng, traveling at high speed through the primordial space. Every time I observe the primordial space, I feel shocked. Luo Feng watched the outside, being able to see from afar a vast source world. In the blink of an eye, the droplet had already left that source world behind. We beings within the braided cage must have the protection of a world. Either we live in the source world, or in the world created by Senior Yuan and others. Luo Feng thought, if we are outside a world, it won't take long before we perish. The primordial space is infinitely vast, containing endless violent primordial force. This force is not like the refined and gentle force of a primordial crystal, it constantly erodes life. Only by leaping out of the braided cage can one survive long-term in the primordial space. Even what I observed of the primordial space is not even a 10,000th of the real primordial space. Luo Feng, in his hometown, the land of origin, had also carefully observed the primordial space using the Eye of Life and Death. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, the primordial space is magnificent and colorful. Layers of space are breathtaking, with energy passing through countless layers of space, generating more types of energy and evolving various creatures. Without the Eye of Life and Death, at this moment, Luo Feng observed only darkness in the primordial space and occasionally large entities. Luo Feng saw a whirlpool of mist, roughly the size of 1/10 of the land of origin. From the whirlpool extended a misty head, gazing distantly in Luo Feng's direction. From the size, it should be a high-level primordial life, Luo Feng guessed. During transmission, one occasionally encounters a high-level primordial life. Encountering a world-level primordial life is extremely rare. Of course, for those like Luo Feng who haven't leaped out of the braided cage, judging strength is simple, look at size. In legend, those slightly smaller than an entire source world are at the primordial ancestor level, the most terrifying existence. Those larger than the land of origin are estimated to be world-level primordial life. Comparable to a small part of the land of origin is generally high-level primordial life. Of course, this judgment might have errors. After all, some powerful beings might deliberately shrink their size. But for those like Luo Feng who haven't escaped the braided cage, the ability to discern is limited. The dark sacred realm is here. The droplet surrounding Luo Feng shot straight towards a special world. This world, entirely black, shimmered with a hint of dark red. It was much smaller than a source world. Swish! The droplet instantly entered the interior of the dark sacred realm. The dark sacred realm, at the top of the towering holy mountain. At the peak was a dark lake, from which Luo Feng flew out and landed beside it. Dark sacred realm? Luo Feng felt the suppressive force of the entire world. The suppressive power was comparable to the Nine Rivers sacred realm, and his late-stage divine emperor, Life and Death Tao, could remain stable in the dark sacred realm without modification. My life and death Tao already gradually traverses all worlds, Luo Feng thought. Friend, a flying boat will arrive shortly to take us to the 5 cities of the dark sacred realm. A cultivator nearby said with a smile. The dark sacred realm is more dangerous, and few cultivators dare to act alone, generally opting to ride the official flying boat. Luo Feng looked over and saw more than 50 cultivators gathered, with varied auras, but at least of late-stage divine emperor the enlightened level. Thank you. Luo Feng responded with a smile. Then he directly broke through the void and flew away. Swish! The figure of Luo Feng flying away blurred, then flew to the horizon, eventually disappearing completely. This scene left the 50-plus cultivators shocked. In the dark sacred realm, to shuttle through the void over short distances? Isn't it something only a pinnacle-level existence can achieve? At the pinnacle level, only some can do it. Some cultivators were visiting the dark sacred realm for the first time, while others had been there multiple times, but all were aware of the difficulty of short-distance space travel in the dark sacred realm. To achieve this step, without a doubt, is among the most terrifying existences in the dark sacred realm. Black clothes, black hair, his appearance. Among the pinnacle level in the dark sacred realm, I've collected intelligence on all the ones with a bit of fame, but this one isn't in my intelligence. An old man said in confusion. I don't recognize him either. Of the 5 cities in the dark sacred realm, I've never heard of this pinnacle existence. Other cultivators were also puzzled. In the dark sacred realm, there are only 5 gathering cities of cultivators altogether. In each of these gathering cities, the pinnacle level generally has great fame. Collecting basic intelligence on them is relatively easy. Luo Feng had already obtained detailed intelligence on the Dark Sacred Realm from Yuan Xiong Palace Master and the Cultivator team. After leaving the Transmission Holy Mountain, he directly headed to the gathering city, Chengfeng City, where the Cultivator team was located. Chengfeng City is the city closest to the Transmission Holy Mountain among the 5 cities of the Dark Sacred Realm. This was also the reason Yuan Xiong Palace Master sought their aid initially. Phew. Luo Feng landed. Although he chose Chengfeng City as the first city to anchor himself, Luo Feng was not in a hurry to proceed. He was filled with curiosity about the entire Dark Sacred Realm. The number and quality of low-level primordial life in the Dark Sacred Realm far exceed those in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. Luo Feng was somewhat expectant, even heard that occasionally primordial prisoners appear. Primordial prisoners are high-level primordial life with sealed power. Apart from being imprisoned in large-scale primordial halls, a few primordial prisoners can also be found in the wild. Their powers are completely suppressed. Each discovery of a primordial prisoner attracts cultivators to form teams to hunt them down. In the Dark Sacred Realm, acting alone at the peak level is quite dangerous. But for me, the threat is rather nominal. Luo Feng walked on the ground. The biomimetic destruction eye on his forehead also observed in all directions. Having taken the 100 Tribulations Heart Essence with a thinking speed boosted by 3,000 times, and in a constantly inspired state, it lasted for most of an era. Such cultivation efficiency is stronger than Luo Feng's normal couple of millennia of practice. Thus, during the previous retreat, Luo Feng's life path and destruction path encountered some obstacles, yet still reached the half-primordial level. However, improving the life and death Tao became difficult. Luo Feng slowly progressed from the late Divine Emperor life and death path, absorbing the nourishment of life and destruction, starting smoothly but gradually becoming harder until he was stuck in a bottleneck there. Stuck in a bottleneck, unable to move forward. Only then did Luo Feng shift to perfecting the undying blood seed body, biomimetic destruction eye, and other secret techniques. I am still some distance from reaching the half-primordial level in life and death Tao, just stuck in a bottleneck. Luo Feng also feels the challenges other cultivators encounter when hitting a wall in understanding, unable to progress. Nonetheless, compared to the battle in Yulon City, Luo Feng's accumulation in life and death Tao is deeper. Moreover, the half-primordial level life and destruction paths contribute to it, naturally elevating his realm much. The powers of various secret techniques have significantly increased. I've discovered a primordial life team. Luo Feng's biomimetic destruction eye can now see farther, and he spotted a team in the distance. It was a team of the primordial Wild Hoof clan. In the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, primordial Wild Hoof usually act alone, rarely together in groups of 3 to 5. But here, there's a team of 82 primordial Wild Hoof acting together. Luo Feng gazed. Among them, 7 are at Divine Emperor Perfection level, 75 at late-stage Divine Emperor level. A team like this, if it encountered Wei Yang Palace Master strength, likely wouldn't last a single exchange. Luo Feng interestedly walked over. With a step, he traveled through a space fissure and arrived nearby. 82 primordial Wild Hoof noticed Luo Feng almost simultaneously. A lone cultivator? Kill him. These primordial Wild Hoofs didn't hesitate. In the Dark Sacred Realm's environment, low-level primordial life and cultivators have fought endlessly. Killing has long become instinct. Boom tilde. As the primordial Wild Hoof clan moved, countless blue thunders condensed in the void, like water, pouring from heaven, and struck down toward Luo Feng like watery thunder. Luo Feng stood still, letting the thunder strike, yet these watery thunders couldn't touch a strand of his hair, blocked by an invisible force. The speed of the primordial Wild Hoof clan was initially very fast, attacking Luo Feng in unison. But upon noticing their released thunder couldn't hurt a single strand of Luo Feng's hair, this scene made them all tremble, and every primordial Wild Hoof began slowing down, preparing to escape without hesitation. Since we've met, don't leave. Luo Feng reached out his hand. His palm turned into a large furry claw, which instantly pierced the void, covering a vast area ahead. The space of heaven and earth was divided, trapping the primordial wild hoof team in that isolated space. Phew. Luophone withdrew his hand. In his furry palm were the 82 imprisoned primordial wild hoofs. In Luophone's palm, the primordial wild hoof clan team seemed like mere toys, devoid of any resistance. But each body remained intact, but their life cores silently split open, dying one after another. Meeting is fate. Luophone promptly stored all these bodies into his storage treasure. This low-level primordial life team posed no threat to Luophone indeed. According to Luophone's own estimation, in the Battle of Yulon City, he could suppress 4 super-limit-level entities alone. Today, he can suppress 10 by himself. He alone can rival a peak-level team. But my current strength is far from invincible. Luophone is well aware of this. Invincible is a whole level above peak level. At least equating to 20 or 30 peak level existences, that's the minimum threshold for invincibility. In truth, if the spiritual will emerges from the braided cage, peak level before such existence would be powerless under the will's crushing. Luophone walked to a lake shore, suddenly sat cross-legged, contemplating the puzzles of cultivation. This episode is end here.